People talk about the catch, and I think, and I've said this many times, that I made better catches than that many times in the regular season. But of course, during the regular season, you didn't. In my time, you didn't have a lot of television, so a lot of people didn't see me play. A lot of people didn't see me do a lot of things. But I think the key to that particular play was the throw. I knew I had the ball all the time. In my mind, because I was so cocky at that particular time when I was young, whatever went in the air, I felt that I could catch. That's how sure that I was, be about myself. When the ball went up, I had no idea that I wasn't going to catch the ball. As I'm running backwards, and I'm saying to myself, how am I going to get this ball back into the infield? How am I going to get this ball back in the field? Now, I got halfway out as I'm catching the ball. I said, "Oh, I know how I'm gonna do it." And I said, "You stop." And I'm visualizing this as I'm running. It's hard to tell people that, what I'm doing as I'm running. And I know people say, "Well, you can't do all that and catch a ball." And I said, "Well, that's what I was doing." Okay, I was running. I'm saying to myself, "How am I gonna get this ball back in the infield?" So now, as I catch the ball, if you watch the film close, I catch the ball, I stop immediately. I make a U-turn. Now, if I catch the ball and run and turn around, Larry Dober, which is on second, Al Rose was on first. Larry can score from second because Larry told me, I didn't see this. Larry have told me many times, well, I was just about home when you caught the ball. I had to go back to second and tag up and then go to third. So he would have scored very easy. So I said, well, as I'm running, I got to stop and make a complete turn. You watch the film, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I stopped very quickly, made a U-turn, and when I threw the ball, I'm facing the wall when the ball is already in the infield. So when you talk about the catch, more than things went into the play than the catch. The throw was the most important thing because only one guy advanced, and that was Larry from second to third. Al was still on first, and that was the key to me with the whole World Series.
Left-hander Vic works up, and left-hander Don Little ready to go. Here's the pitch to Wirtz. Here's a long drive to deep, deep center field. Mays back to the wall. Makes an incredible catch. Turns and fires it in. What a catch by Willie Mays.
I made a catch in Eversfield off a guy by the name of Bobby Morgan. And it was in the 10th inning, bases loaded. A ball was hit over the shortstop on a line, over the shortstop. Now you got to visualize this, over the shortstop. I go and catch the ball in the air. I'm in the air like this, parallel. I catch the ball, I hit the fence. That Eversfield was so short that if you run anywhere, you're going to hit a fence. So I catch the fence, knock myself out, and the first guy that I saw, two guys, when I opened my eyes, was Leo and Jackie. And I'm saying to myself, why is Jackie out here? Jackie came to see if I caught the ball, and Leo came to see about me. So I'm saying to myself, this guy is thinking very cool. I'm talking about Jackie now. He wasn't even on the field. He was in the dugout. Now, this is my thinking. He might have a different reason, but that was my first two guys. That was my best catch, I think. It was off of Bobby Morgan in Eversfield. And I caught a lot of balls barehanded, which I felt was good, but that was my best catch, I think. I made a catch in Yorktown that they had a little bit of fence there. It wasn't a fence, it was a canvas. I jumped the fence. As I'm jumping, I catch the ball as I'm falling over. It was a canvas fence. And what happened, really, what made it so hard, here's the downgrade, and that was a hill that you had to go up, and you had to run up this hill, and then you had to catch it over this fence. And then as I'm going up, it made it much easier for me because as soon as I go up, I continued going up. I kept running, and then I leap. As I'm leaping, I catch the ball line drive. I catch it over my head, and fell over the fence. So maybe that's one nobody ever paid no attention about because it wasn't a big deal. That was in the minor league. Who's gonna know about that? I misjudged one in 1971, and it was in Dodger Stadium. Maury Wills hit a ball. I don't know if I misjudged. Maybe I didn't see it. But I'm charging in, and the ball hit about 20 feet over my head. And Maury Wills knew I could catch him. I always catch his ball all the time. He gets a triple out. Now he gets on third, and he does this. And he said, "Thank you very much." So now I think I missed one, maybe every now and then. I missed two fly balls, 10 years apart. And one was in the Polo Grounds, and one was in Pittsburgh. Two fly balls that I can recall.
Up there swinging. Cracker throws. There's a long pass. I believe. The Giants won the pennant. 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 Bobby Thompson hits into the very neck of the left field stand. The Giants won the pennant, and they're going crazy. They're going crazy.
The day before, Bobby Thompson had hit a home run off of Branca in Ebbets Field, and I said, they're not going to pitch to him. I says, Charlie Dressen is going to walk Bobby Thompson, and Leo is going to pinch hit for me. That was what I was thinking. And the reason I said I was thinking so hard, when Bobby hit the home run, I am the last guy to get to home plate, and home plate was right there. I could just walk on it. I didn't move. I was right there because I didn't realize what was happening until everybody started running out. If you ever see a picture, you'll see 24 right in the background of all this pile there. In my mind, I said, Leo's gonna pinch it for me. But Leo said no. And I said, no. Knowing Leo, knowing what I know about Leo, I think he would have pinched it for me. That was my thing. He said, no. He said, I would have let you hit. I said, no, I don't think so. But it didn't happen, and I was very glad it didn't, very glad.
Yeah. Is there anyone?
Piper Davis saw me play with a club called the the Gray Sox. They played us down in my little hometown, and they had an exhibition game. And he came down, and I hit a ball about 450. Should have been a home run in any ballpark. I was only about 14 then. And I was playing shortstop. Then they hit a ball, and it hit me off my chest. Bang! I pick up the ball, and I go to second. The second baseman wasn't there, so I pick it up and threw it to first. So he said to me, how did you have that instinct of knowing how to do that? I said, Piper, I just reacted. If the guy wasn't there, why would throw in the ball? You got to go to the next, get that one run out. So he talked to my father to let me come and play with the Birmingham Black Barons the next year, which I was around 15. And my father said, I don't know if he's ready. He might be too young. He said, well, I'll take care of him. Piper Davis did this for me. If you pitched today, you were my roommate tonight. The next day, another pitch, he was my roommate. I never went out alone. I never stayed by myself alone. I think I was programmed to do good things when I came into the majors. I knew how to play. Piper and I would sit on the bench. He says, now this guy gonna knock you down. Don't worry about it. He said, that's trying to scare you. He'll say, this guy hits this way. He and I had a sign. His sign was behind his back. Only with the hand again, left or right. That's the way the guy is gonna pitch, because he was the manager and he used to call most of all the pitches. So he knew exactly what to do. So Piper had the first influence on me to be patient. and to learn, because I wasn't old enough to understand about playing with guys 25. Some was older, some put their age back, so they might have been older than what I'm saying, but they was all grown. I'm out there by myself. I'm probably the youngest of all the teams around the league. I'm talking about. My first game in the minor league, when I was assigned by a guy by the name of Eddie Montague, and he assigned me to go to Trenton, New Jersey. That was the interstate league. I was the first black in that particular league. And we played in a town called Hagerstown, Maryland. Oh, I never forget this day, on a Friday. And they call you all kinds of names there, nigger this, nigger that. And I said to myself, and which I think this is where Piper Davis came in my mind, hey, whatever they call you, they can't touch you. Don't talk back. Now, this was on a Friday, and the Friday night I hit 2 doubles, home run. They never clap. The next day I hit the same thing. There was a house out there in the back there. I hit that twice. Now they start clapping a little bit. You know how that is. They clap a little bit. By Sunday, there was a big headline in the paper: "Do not bother Mays." You understand what I'm saying? They call you all kind of names. Now this is the first 2 games I played, and by Sunday, I come to bat. They're all clapping for you. And I'm wondering, wait a minute, what happened to the Friday? What happened to the Saturday? This is running through my mind now. Because I couldn't stay with the ball club. And when they dropped me off in Hagerstown, this was a unique thing that I had happen to me in my first time. They dropped me off downtown in the black area. About 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 players came through the window, and they slept on the floor. It was one of my right field, Egg Roden, one of the catchers, Herberto, and another guy, Bob Easterwood, slept on the floor until about 6 o'clock in the morning. I said, hey, man, I don't need no help here. I said, I think I can handle whatever happens. No. We're going to stay here. They stayed with me until 6 o'clock in the morning. They got up, went back out the window, and came back around 4 o'clock, picked me up. We drove back to the ballpark. Nobody knew about it, but I did. I was so thankful, not because of what happened to them, it's because I felt that those guys understood my problems. They knew that, hey, if something good would happen, I might have got hurt. I would have hurt somebody, and then you wouldn't have had a career. So my first 3 or 4 days in the minor league was my crucial days, and I came that without any problem. Well, I was very fortunate to have a father that was into sports, and actually my whole family was into sports. So I really didn't have a hard time as far as eating like other people around me did. When I say that is that my father, he was a Pullman porter on the train. Then he worked with steel mill at that time called the tin mill, which he made a very good living, there. Plus he played baseball. My father was a type of guy that would go and pull the punches for me. Like I said, when I had a job that I didn't like and it wasn't good for me, he would say, hey, don't work, you're going to play baseball. And I really didn't understand what he was talking about at that time, but he was saying, I don't want you going into the steel mill. I don't want you working where you don't want to work at. So I was very fortunate. Well, it's the same as being black right now. I don't think that is no different. Might be some changes as far as when you leave the city, but in my hometown, Fairfield, we used to play together as far as football and stuff on the baseball park. They would stop us from playing. I remember very well when I was about 10, 12 years old. We used to go down on the field and play football, and about 3 or 4 o'clock, the officers come down and break us up, and we go, our separate ways. But in Birmingham at that time, everything was segregated. The movies, the restaurants, and different things, and you had the bathrooms that was you had color and white on and all that kind of junk. So you knew exactly what was going on, but you couldn't do anything about it at that particular time. So I think it affected a lot of people at that time coming along. They, I guess, they had to accept, what was going on. They couldn't do too much about it. I was very fortunate to play sports. All the anger in me went out. I had to do what I had to do, and if you stay angry all the time, then you really don't have a good life. We knew what was going on, but again, if you just stay focused on what is happening as far as your life is concerned, I don't think you have a hard time. Sure, we went to, like for instance, I went to an all-black school. I didn't, it wasn't mixed or anything. And when you say had to be some anger there, sure, but what good it was going to do? Who are you going to go to tell about what is happening as far as your community is concerned? I had an uncle that was very played a great role in my life as far as sports. He would, like for instance, in the South, we always play like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I would have to in the afternoon. I would have to go to school, and he would do my chores. When I said chores, that means I had to cut the wood, I had to wash the clothes, I had to do everything that everybody in the house had to do. So he would do all that stuff for me, and I was, I was very happy about it because I wasn't about to mess my arms up and my hands, so I could go and play ball and didn't have to do too much. So again, I was very, very fortunate to come out of there, thinking clearly. Like you say, it had to be some madness there, and I'm sure it was. My uncle would say every day, "You're gonna be a baseball player. You're gonna be a baseball player, and we're gonna see to that." Not knowing that I was gonna be a professional baseball player, but see, my life was like this: is that at 10, I was playing against 18-year-old guys. At 15, I was playing professional ball with the Birmingham Black Barons. So I really came very quickly in all sports. Basketball was my second sport. Football was my first. Baseball was my last. But I picked baseball because it was the easiest of the three. And I don't think I had a problem with that. But the others I thought I would get hurt in. So I just picked that. And my father didn't have money for me to go to college. And at that particular time, they didn't have black quarterbacks. And I don't think I could have made it in basketball because I was only 5'11", so I just picked baseball. There was no height limit there in baseball. You just go in and play and have a good time. I played with the Birmingham Black Barons. I was making 500 at 14. That was a lot of money in those days. So Jackie didn't come into 47, but I played in Birmingham 47, 48, and 49, and the Giants signed me at 50. I had traveled from Chattanooga, Memphis. I had been to all parts of the country. New York. I had played with the New York Cubans. I had played against Philadelphia. Then they had one in Pittsburgh. Then they had Newark Eagles. They had Larry Dobbin, Montiel was playing there. So I had been to all the big cities in there. But we had a guy by the name of Piper Davis, and he was the manager of Birmingham, and he let me go to school. Because my father said I had to go to school. And after school, like May 29th, or around the 30th, May 30th or something. Then I was travel with the ball club, but I only played on weekends, like Saturday and Sundays. But I had to go to school 5 days and play 2 days with them. I think there was a need because we couldn't play with whites. That's number one. That was a segregation as far as the South was concerned. I don't think there's a big secret about that. It was a need for us to have our culture done what we had to do, and we did that. So we had to create different things among ourselves, not only just in I would say, sports world, but all parts of life we had to create. You know, when you buy a car, you had to make sure you bought it from the right guy. When you buy a house, you had to buy it on time because you only got paid once a week, and you didn't get paid good then. You got paid by chips. You know, because in the South you had a commissary that would only pay if you worked in that particular area. So we really had to do many things to among ourselves, and sports was one of them that would get everybody together. And what the teams did is that, for instance, if you work for Fairfield, you work for Westfield, you work for a company called Stockham, Sipico, all those teams, all those mills had a team, and they would play like on Saturdays and Sundays, and they used to draw like 10, 15,000 people. And when you hit a home run, they would pass the hat around, and that was a big deal, you know. So I didn't hit home runs because I was so small, you know. I was about 150, 160 or something, but I could run, I could field, I could throw, you know, and I had a lot of guys teach me. So when I was a bad boy around, I was about 10, 12, I was a bad boy, so they let me play the last 2 innings at first base. So they really took good care of me. That's why I would say I was blessed when I was coming along as a small kid. I was playing on the high school team when I was in like the ninth grade, you know, like, and on basketball teams in high school, you can't play until like 11th or 12th grade. But I was playing at in the ninth grade, and it's called red shirt. They let two of us play. It was another kid and I used to play because we only, and they didn't even give us pants. You had to put on a top. And we played like maybe 4 or 5 minutes. And the next year we played full time. I played 1 year football, 1 year basketball, 1 year football. And I started playing professional ball at that particular time. And the principal said to me, why don't you quit baseball and come back and play at the high school level? Because I guess he was making money. I wasn't making any money. And we used to have a full house at all times, especially when I played, you know. So my father said, hey, you play where you want to play, and you do the best you can, you know, whatever you want to do. I don't know. It wasn't hard. It wasn't anything that I had to look for. When you say, how do I get to be as good? Well, I was there. If you're talking about throwing a football, I could throw a football further. If you're throwing a baseball further than anybody in my community or anybody around that area. Uh, Basketball, I would score a 20-point stop. That was enough. We used to have guys used to bet on things that, like, hey, he's going to score 20 points tonight. You know, so I would never bet, but the guys around me, because I could hear them, you got to get 20 tonight. So I was probably one of the best basketball players in my area now. And when you say, how did I get that? I really don't know. I just was creative. I just did what I had to do. Some guys that are so-called superstars can't tell you how they do things. It's creative. You just do it. And whatever comes out, it comes out good. I love defensing. And defensing to me is the key to playing baseball. I know people say, well, you got to score runs, but you got to stop them before you can score runs. And I used to love to run out a fly ball. I used to love to throw a guy out. But of course, I played good offense too. But I just felt baseball was a beautiful game, especially at night. The sun, I mean, you have the lights out there, and all you do is go out there, and you're out there by yourself in center field, and it's just a beautiful game. And I just felt that it was such a beautiful game that I just wanted to play it forever, you know. Where I used to go to, you know, when I was in Birmingham, I used to go to a place called Rickwood Field, and I used to get there on 2 o'clock game. I'm there at 12 o'clock, because why can you make this kind of money playing sports? It was just a pleasure just to have me go out and enjoy myself and get paid for it. I didn't understand why people didn't want to play it, you know. So it stayed with me all the time until I got to professional ball. And then when I got to professional ball, I used to play 150 games every year. It depends on how many games it was. If it was 154, I played 151 because I had to miss something because I got tired, and I was one of the guys that would try and teach as we played, because we had guys sometimes, well, hey, I can't play this, I can't play that, I get a fingernail hurt. And I said, wait a minute, you got a family to feed now, so you got to play. So I would try and help everybody because the game was so easy for me. It was just like, hey, walking in the park again. I never had any training. I never had a guy say to me, do it this way, do it that way. Every team that I was on, I was the last guy to get picked. I'm talking about as I'm growing up now. I was the last guy to get picked. The reason for that is that whatever a guy couldn't play, that's what I did. If if everybody came out, there was a pitcher needed, I pitch. If there was a catcher needed, I catch. And then I caught. But if there was a first baseman, shortstop, whatever position they needed, that's what I played. And I felt I was the best athlete around that particular team that I could do that. Most of them couldn't do that. Everybody wanted to play a position. It didn't matter what I played, So I just had fun and enjoyed it. I came out of the Army in 1954. I had played in the Army. I hadn't played for, I would say, about 5 months, because in Newport News, Virginia, where I was located, we didn't play from September until around April or something like that. I get out of the Army, and 3 months early, I get out in February, end of February. I show up at spring training. I get there at 12 o'clock. The game started at 1:05. Leo said, go put on a uniform. I go put on a uniform. I'm getting off the plane now. I haven't thrown a ball, haven't seen a ball in 5 months. I put on a plane. He said, want to play? I said, okay, I go out. First ball hit was over my head up against the fence. It was in Phoenix now. It was on Central Avenue. Okay. Next ball hit through the middle. I threw out a runner going to third. Next ball, then Leo said, gee, you going to hit. First time up, home run. I never worked at anything pertaining to sports. I think I should have, but now it's two parts here. I think that all athletes should practice. They should practice because you want to know what's happening as far as when the game is concerned. I didn't have to do that. In spring training, when people go out running, like they run laps around things there, I would go in and sleep. I would sleep until they get through. Then I would go out, and then I would go out and run around the bases for a minute, and then I would hit. That's my spring training. I never had any problem as far as my body was concerned. I was very blessed with a good body, never got hurt, never was in the hospital. The only time I was in the hospital is when I would get exhausted a little bit and go in for a checkup or something. But I was blessed with a body that I didn't have to do all that. If I went 0 for 5 or 0 for 6, or I didn't get hit for 2 days, I wouldn't take no batting practice for like 2 or 3 days because I felt I was tired. So I would go in and just rest and go play the game. Show up. If the game is 1 o'clock, I show up at 12, go play the game, go back home, come the next day, play the game. Never practiced, never did anything. But then when I got my body back together, I would go out and let the opposition see me. Only because opposition, let them see me, I still can throw. That means I'm not sick, I'm just resting. That means don't run. That means I still can throw. So you had to do all that in order to play sports. But my body stayed the same all the time. But now you're talking about young people. I think young people, when they go into sports, should practice. They should take all kind of, I say, precautionary with their bodies. That means get in shape, which I was always in shape all year long. I never got out of shape. That was one of my keys, I think. But you have to practice. You have to know what's going on as far as your body is concerned. You have to take orders as far as the manager, whatever he gives you. I was lucky, I managed myself. Every manager that I had said, hey, play your game. You know what you have to do, but I have to manage the other 24 guys. I understood what he was saying to me, but I didn't get out of line. I didn't make mistakes. Uh, I would have manager like Leo. If you make a mistake, $100. If you make not just a mistake, one mistake, then that's $100. If I made another mistake, $200. So I used to make maybe 3 mistakes a year out of 140 or 54 games now. So I had to do a lot of things where other guys could make mistakes all the time and nothing, nobody said anything because they were supposed to make mistakes. Not me. No, I had it pretty hard, but it was easy, you know. When I played, I was the captain of the ball club. I would position everybody around the field. I tried to explain this to a guy one time, and he says, how did you do all that? I said, well, I had one sign, pick up my hand, and everybody would on my hand and go this way, left, go right. That means I want to set the left fielder up on the line. Right fielder's got to be on the line. I cover the gaps. That means that's the outfielder. The infielders would go spread out. That means the first baseman cover the line, third baseman cover the line, leave the middle open. The shortstop, second base would cover. Now they're all in this one hand, but we go through it before the game starts. Go left, go right. That means everybody. Now, if you didn't wash this hand, you didn't play the next day, because baseball is a teamwork. It's a team job. Everybody have to play together. Everybody have to have a little sense of what the other guy is doing. And that was the reason that I was the captain. Now, if you want to be the captain, you do it. So, and that's what I would tell my guys, But that's how easy baseball was for me. And I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I had the knowledge before I became a professional baseball player to do all these things and know what each guy would hit. Now, you asked the question, how did you know where each guy would hit? Well, that was one of my jobs, to make sure that I knew how he would hit. Now, the key there is how the pitcher was going to pitch. And I would make sure before the game, we go over like a little roster, go over how you going to pitch this guy, how you going to pitch that guy. Now, if he's going to change and go another direction, he would turn to me in center field and he'd go this way. We had 3 signs, 1, 2, 3. Then he'll go, it's called wipe off. That means he's wiping off this now. We're going to pitch this guy another way. So now I got to go this way, my hand, then I got to go that way. Everybody got to stay on this hand. And the pitcher and the catcher and I would all work together. So as a team, we did very well with that, as when I played with the Giants. Robinson wasn't important to me. He was important to all blacks. To make it into the majors and to have the name calling, which I already knew about, had to be something special. And what I started realizing, he had to be educated to understand you had to take all of this for 2 years, not for just Jackie Robinson, for the nation, because all eyes was on Jackie at that particular time. And we was pulling for him. Like I told you before, I was a Dodger fan because of Jackie. I was a guy that when Jackie came in, automatically a Dodger fan, because I wanted to pull for him. I wanted to make sure that he was a very successful guy. And Dobie came in about 2 weeks after him, and he was in the American League, but we didn't see him that much, and Dobie didn't get the recognition as being the first black. But I would say, Jackie had more influence on not just me, but most all blacks that was in sports or whatever, I didn't think I would have a chance because of the circumstance that was involved in all the segregation, the restaurants, I would say the black and white issue as far as toilets was concerned. A lot of things that went in my mind that I didn't think I would ever get out of Birmingham, number one. And when they signed me, I had no idea that they really wasn't looking at me. They were looking at a guy named Alonzo Perry, at that time when they signed me. So I didn't think I was ever going to get out of there. But my father said to me, "You're not going into a cotton field. That's number one. That means picking cotton down there and putting it in the sack, carrying it on your shoulder. You're not going to do that. You're going to play baseball. You're going. They always drill that on me. You're going to play baseball. You're going to be the best in baseball." Not knowing that, one day you would be, and he just drilled it. I had the best shoes, I had the best glove, best everything as far as sports was concerned. So my house was like a sporting goods shop. When kids didn't have shoes, they come and get my shoes, wear them, bring them back. That was a community thing, So we had a good relationship in my community when I played. I was the first guy to have a car. In 1950, when the Giants signed me, they gave me like $15,000. I brought a 1950 Mercury. Couldn't drive, but I had it there in the parking lot there, and everybody that could drive would drive the car, and they would bring it back. And when we used to go on dates, we used to drive, and then they'd bring me back home, drop me off, take the car home. So it was like a community thing. Everybody knew the car. Everybody knew who it was. It just was a wonderful time, that I had growing up as a kid. I was in high school, and my high school prom, I couldn't go because a guy named Chick Genevieve had called 2 days before and talked to my father. We need him right now because they wasn't drawing. So I said, "Dad, I got to go to the prom." He says, "Well, money comes first because, I was feeding my sisters, my brothers, and that 15,000 was a lot of money. And I really had to take a cut from 500 down to 250. So, to get into professional ball, I had to do a lot of things. So I had to pay a guy to take my date to the prom that particular day. So I knew the date, May 29th. So it wasn't bad, it was okay, but I didn't want to do it. But to get into the majors, you had to give up a lot. When I was 15, I had played in the Polo Grounds. We played. I told you the club, the name of the New York Cubans. So I had been there when I was 15. I just came back. People didn't know that because they didn't go and see the Negro players play all the time. So I had been to the Polo Ground. I knew about the Polo Ground all the time. It wasn't no stranger to me. We had played in a lot of ballparks, but I think the strangest one, rather than the Polo Ground, was over in Brooklyn called the Bushwick. You ever heard of the Bushwick? We played under the L there. Now that was strange, more so than the Polo Ground because they had all ex-players over there. But when I came back in 1951, I didn't start in New York. I started in Philadelphia, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That was my first game. I think I went 0 for 12 or 0 for 13 or whatever. And I'm really, really worried because now I'm in the minors. I'm hitting 477, killing everybody. And I came to the majors. I couldn't hit. I was playing the outfield very, very well, throwing out everybody, but I just couldn't get a hit. And I didn't strike out a lot. And I started crying. And Leo came to me and he says, "You're my center fielder. It doesn't make any difference what you do. You just go home, come back, and play tomorrow." And I think that really, really turned me around because the next day I hit a home run off a spawn for my first hit. And then I went another 10 games, another 10 at bat without getting a hit. And then I blossomed up right quick. I should have hit around 290 my first year, but I hit 271, 20 home runs, and 74 runs scored. So that was like half a season now. So I did very well in my first year. Leo Durocher was like my father away from home. Uh, when I first met Leo, I had met Leo in Sanford, Florida. We had to play a special game for him. So that special game mean if he saw something that I couldn't do, he would tell me. If I could play, he wouldn't bother me. So they started me in left field. The first ball was hit. I ran into the wall. And I saw a guy come out of the stands, and he called time. He switched me from left to center. He switched to center field, which was regular Johnny Crop. I never forget this guy. I was playing with Minneapolis then. He came out, and he says, "You're the center fielder." So now the next ball that was hit, I catch it. I catch that ball because it was close to the fence. Now I got more room. Now he was talking about the Polo Ground had the big center field, and I didn't really understand what he was talking about. But I hit a home run that day, and Leo knew what I could do. So when Mr. Stoneham sent for me to come up, it was no problem coming up. It was just a problem of making the transition from the minor league into the majors. But Leo had an influence this way is that when I went to California, I stayed with him in his house. He and Lorraine Day at that time. She was married to him. His kid, Chris Durocher, was my roommate on the road. So he would go to in the black areas with me and stay with me. Leo was trustworthy of me. If he knew that his kid was going to stay with me, he knew that kid was going to be all right, regardless of what happened. Nothing going to happen to that kid. And the problem I had with that kid is that when we used to eat soul food, he didn't know what soul food was because we had black-eyed peas, cornbread, chitlins, and all that kind of junk, and he was used to eating steaks and things. So now he goes back and he tells his father, I had cornbread and he had chitlins. His father started laughing. And so now he says, well, okay, I'll give you like $30 or $40 a day. So I made another $40 on top of that, on top of my meal money. So now we would get the kid, same stuff. We never give mistakes, same stuff. So he go back and tell the father, and he come to me, why you didn't feed my guy? Leo, I fed him. What do you want me to do? So I had such a good time with Leo, and I met so many good people in Hollywood, like for instance, Jeff Chandler used to, come in spring training with me, Pat O'Brien, all the movie stars that was great in Hollywood. Leo would have a party for me when I used to go there. And Randolph Scott, all the guys that was really big stars used to come there, Paul Wagner and his wife, and Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis. So I said, Leo, why don't we have a game? And all the stars would come to Arizona, and we used to have a game with these stars, and we used to have a beautiful outing, So Leo was like my second father away from home. I said, no. I said, no, I don't want to come, Leo. I think I'm having a good year here. I don't think I want to come up there. So he said, be on the next plane. That's where Leo talked. Be on the next plane. So I'm on the next plane. Actually, I was on the road. I only played about 2 weeks in Minneapolis and 2 weeks on the road, maybe a month. I came up, I think I saw in April. I think we came up, I came up in May 28th, 29th, somewhere around there. You can look it up. I was on the road. I didn't even go back to get my clothes. They had to send for it. And then Mr. Stoneham had to put in the newspaper an apology because I was doing so well, and they was drawing very, very well. And he had to write in the paper that he apologized for had to bringing me up, but he needed me in New York more than Minneapolis did, and they didn't think so. So when they called me, I was in a movie house in Sioux City. That's what you're talking about. I was in the movie, and it came across the screen. It says, Willie Mays report to the box office. Now I'm saying to myself, who knows me in Sioux City? This is my first time. So I go to the phone there, and Leo says, go to the hotel. I want to talk to you. Leo had a very, very deep voice. Go to the hotel, and I want to see you. So I went there, and I hear Mr. Storm got on the phone, and he says, we'd like to have you in New York. Do you think you can play up here? He said, how much can you hit? Can you hit 250? I said, I could walk that. So he said, okay, you be on the plane the next morning, So that was Leo. He was one of those guys. He had so much confidence in himself that he put it all in other people, Yes, I was crying. I'm telling you. We had a pitcher by name. He was coaching at that time. Was Freddie Fitzsimmons. He was my first base coach, and he was like my guy. Would pitch me a lot of batting practice and stuff. So I was crying in there in my locker, and he came in and he saw me. So now he goes to Leo, and he tells Leo, "Well, you better go see about your boy. He's in there crying, because I had played 4 games. I didn't get no hit, got 1 hit or whatever, So I'm nervous now. He's gonna send me back very quickly because that's the way they do it in the majors. If you don't hit, you gone. So he came out and again he said to me, "Hey, you my center fielder. Don't even worry about anything else. Just go on home and relax. So yes, I was nervous, very much so. Not because of the ballpark or anything like that, because of the people. Because all my people that I live with in the top of the hill, which was the Sugar Hill on 155th Street. Well, they were from Birmingham, so I knew all the people. That wasn't a problem, there because they made sure that actually they had to put me to bed at 9 o'clock every night, and I didn't realize that this was happening. I used to go home at night, and I used to go to a place called the Red Rooster on 137th Street and 7th Avenue, and I used to come home at night, and I used to see a lot of people out there watching. You know what I'm saying? I said, why are all these people out there? Now, they didn't tell me nothing till a year later that these people were waiting for me to come home, and then they would go and to their own home. I didn't know this. So now, when I got to play stickball in New York, the kids would knock on my window in the morning, like if we got a day game or something, and I'd be at the ballpark at 12 o'clock. They would knock on at 9 o'clock. Now, I got to go eat. I got to get up. I got to go out and play stickball with them for about 20 minutes, and then I had to go to the ballpark. I'm saying to myself, I'm tired, but I said, no, these are kids. So what I did, we had no losers there. Everybody had ice cream, so I would take $20 out of my pocket every day and go buy the ice cream for all the kids, and they knew that. So they all loved that. Then night games, they would come around 3 o'clock, knock on my window. I stayed with them. What they did, let me tell you about reading the one I'm talking about, is that I stayed with a family called Mrs. Ann Gooseby. And what Mr. Stoneham did for me, which I think a lot of ball clubs should do for young ball players, but they don't do that anymore, is that they placed me with a family that wanted to take care of me, made sure that I was at home, made sure that I ate, made sure that I got things that I needed, made sure that everything was fine. If there was a problem, they would call the Giants. The Giants would know the problem before I knew it. So I think if they can place this young fella, whoever he may be, with a good family and still be like at home, I think he would be a much, much better ball player, and that's what they did for me. And I came up in 1951 to 1952 when I went into service, I couldn't do nothing. When I had to go downtown, and you know how New York is downtown, I never went by myself. I went with a guy named Forbes. He was the commissioner, boxing commissioner. And Mr. Stoneham hired this guy. Whenever I had to go downtown, I had to call him. He would come and pick me up, take me down, buy clothes or whatever I had to do, bring me back. I couldn't do nothing by myself. So I say that they had a lot of stuff invested in me, and they made sure that I didn't get into no trouble. You know the thing about pepper, like when you got throw the ball and you 3 or 4 guys playing around. We used to do that every day in spring training. And every day, and fans would come to the ballpark like 11 o'clock just to see that show. It would be 3 of us. It would be Hank Thompson, Monty Of, and myself, and Leo would be the hitters. And every time we hit, we got to pay $5 or miss a ball. And he was standing right there. He was standing on top of us. I mean, he hit it hard. And he could never get me, and it would make him so mad because I would catch everything that come close to me, So one day he hit off the top of my knee. And now Mr. Stoneham was watching in the stands over there now. And I didn't know this. So now the guy comes out and he says, phone call for Mr. Durocher. And Mr. Stoneham called Leo and said, wait a minute, you may play Pepper and Pepper is fine, but if you hurt his knee, he can't play. What am I going to do then? He says, I don't want you doing that. So now Leo started bunting, hitting the ball easy to me and then hitting the ball hard to the other two guys. And I'm wondering why. Why are you hitting it so easy to me now? So he told me later, I can't hit it hard to you anymore. So I said, well, why play Pepper then if you can't hit it hard? So they babied me a little bit. They babied me. It was fun. That was one of the hardest things I ever had to go through. And I hope I'm going to try to explain this correctly because playing against the Giants, I never did it before. And I was traded on a Thursday, and they didn't let me play until Sunday when the Giants came in town. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they didn't let me play. So I'm playing, and the first time up, I think I got a base hit. Then I struck out. Then I got a walk. And then in the seventh or eighth inning, I hit a home run. Now you have to visualize what I'm gonna say. Is that I get to first base, there's McCovey. He shakes my hand. Now I gotta go to second. Now when I leave him, I go to second. There's Tito, there's Chris Spy. They both get in my path, for touching second base. And when I get to second, they said, Chico, what's happened with you? Sit here and talk to us for a minute. I said, man, get out of here. Now my legs start getting wobbly because I'm realizing who I'm playing against. So I get to third. There's a kid named Al Gallagher. We call him Dirty Al. And he gets there. He throws dirt on me. Now, I get to third, and I look in the dugout, not in the Mets dugout, in the Giants dugout, and they all clapping, okay? So now, I said to myself, that's from third base to home plate, that's a long ways. And my knees start shaking. And I never shaken baseball in my life. So now, I started running, but I'm not running. I'm like, when am I going to get the home plate? I get the home plate, and Tom Haller is there, and he shakes my hand. Now, I began to make a right, like going to the visiting club. I said, hold it, wait a minute. I stopped right away, and I had to make the right, and I had to go behind the umpire and go over to the Mets dugout. And I'm saying to myself, I don't know how I got around that because the writer asked me the same thing you asked me. How did it feel? I couldn't explain that. It was so exciting to do that and have so many guys love you the way they did. I didn't think I could get through with that. Greatest challenge, I think, is adjusting to not playing baseball. The reason for that is that I had to come out of baseball and come into the business world, not being a college graduate, not being educated to come into the business world the way I should have. And instead of people doing things for me, I had to do things for myself. That was scary for me. I had to go into a place where I'm already at now, Bally's Casino. I think that was nerve-wracking for me because now I'm in the business world. I'm meeting business people that I didn't know about. But what saved me, all the business people that I met was baseball fans, and they helped me. You take a guy by the name of Mr. Billy Weinberger, which was at Bally's when I first went there. And he helped me so much. He gave me one word that I never forget. It's called visible. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, son, he used to call me son, you have to be visible in this business. And so we sit down, we talk, and he says, you have to be visible, you cannot be late. And he says, if you take those two things and you put them together, you'll never have a problem in this business. Because if you're late, they don't want to be involved with you. If you're visible, you're taking care of the hotel as a whole. He says, you have to understand that this is not baseball now. And he was involved with Joe Louis, and when he was at Caesars in Vegas, he had Joe too. So he hired me for a 10-year contract. And when I got into the business world, when you say how my life changed, it changed for the best. Now I'm still working for the Mets, and Mrs. Payson is saying you could do everything. But then the commissioner said to me, you can't work for the Mets and go down to Lang City. So I had to make a choice. I felt the choice was better in Lang City than it was with the Mets at that particular time. And I had so many decisions that I had to make on my own with help of so many friends around me that my life was kind of scary at that particular time, not for baseball. You know, baseball was like I said, walking through the park. But coming into the business world, not being educated to the fact that you could deal with all of them on one-on-one, which I soon found out I could, because just because you're in the business world doesn't mean that you're smarter than anybody that haven't been to college. Doesn't mean that. You can deal with them one-on-one without any problem, and I could, because I had been around the world starting with age 15, so I knew actually what the business world was all about. I just was maybe a little frightened after coming out of baseball, being the star for so many years, and now all of a sudden you're not the star. And that was frightening to me. I had to learn how to live life outside, but I had so many people helped me. This is a good story, I think. I had a guy by the name of Mr. Vern Alden, which was a CEO called First Boston Company in Boston. He was, I think it was dean of Princeton, not Princeton, Harvard. And we was playing golf in Puerto Rico. I used to play with the American Airlines golf tournament. And the question came up, and what will you do when you get out of baseball? I couldn't answer that. How would I know what I'm going to do? Because I've never been out of baseball. I've been in baseball since I was 12. And that started me into thinking. And when I got home that night, I called him up. I said, Mr. Alden, I says, could we go down and have lunch, sir? I'd like to really talk about what you asked me. And he said, okay. So from that, we became good friends. And he got me 3 jobs at that time. I was working for the Mets. He got me a job with Colgate-Palmolive on Park Avenue. He got me a job with a company called Ogden Foods, which are in the airports, and they had racetracks all around. Then he got me another job with Textile down in Charlotte, North Carolina, around that area. And then so I had all these business people that I'm dealing with, and I'm saying to myself, you know, Colgate-Palmolive is a very, very big company. Not only here, but across the water. They are very big. And I'm dealing with all these people. And he came to me again. He says, now, what you have to do is that you have to be Willie Mays. They want to be Willie Mays. And I'm saying to myself, are you sure? Because this is a business world. Why would they want to be me? And now they're in the business world. He says, they want to be Willie Mays, and you are Willie Mays. He said, all you do is be yourself, and you will never have a problem. And I just started being me. Whatever they ask, I try and do it to the best of my ability. I didn't have to do a lot of speaking because they had professional speakers for that, because every company liked to show off their products and different things, and they knew their products. So I'm I'm a very lucky guy, because I had so many things that I had to go through, and I had so many people that helped me over the course of so many years that I never had many problems. Because if I had a problem, I could sit down with someone and they would explain the problem to me, and the problem become like a baseball game. You're on home plate now. How you get to first? How you get to second? How you get to third? Now, when you get back to home, the problem is solved. And that's why I use the business world. I use it as a baseball game. And once you start thinking the way you've been taught to think over so many years, you have no problems. And I don't care what the problem is, you stop and think. Even if you had a job and you're a writer, what do I write about? First, you write about what you know. Then you go to the guy and let him write about what he knows, and you write about that. That's exactly what I'm saying. I was a baseball player. I talked baseball, and all of a sudden I learned the business world. Now I use the baseball world to talk about their product, but not too much, just enough to keep going. And he says again, you just be yourself and you'll never have a problem. And that's what I did. My father said to me, you needed a piece of paper to go into a door sometime, regardless of if it's college or high school. When you write a resume, and I didn't understand about resume in those times, when you write a resume, you have to put down things that people want to know about. Did you finish high school? Did you finish college? What you do, what you major in, all that kind of junk. He says, you have to have that piece of paper. Now, I told you, I played 2 years. I went to school 2 years in high school, and I didn't play sports. 11th and 12th grade, they wouldn't let me play because I was playing professional ball. It was important that I get that piece of paper. To tell the truth, I didn't get the paper because I was on, if you remember, I left at my prom and went to play with Trenton. So I didn't get the paper. Somebody had to pick it up for me and kept it. My father kept it. I just only saw the paper when I got to New York. I'm talking about my graduation paper. I never seen that. So somebody had to go and pick it up for me, but it was very important to my father for me to receive that piece of paper. Oh, did I go to class? Did I go to class? Yes. Yes, I went to class every day. If I didn't go to class every day, and see, in my hometown, it wasn't no big deal about not going to school because where were you going to go? Everybody was in school. If they show you walking down the street somewhere by yourself at 12 o'clock in the day and you're not in school, something is wrong. Your family would know about it. And my father would know if I didn't go to school. The principal would check on you every day. They have what they call a patrol. The truant officer would come by your house to find out why you're not in school. So that was never a problem now. You might be able to get out early every now and then, but no. You had to check in. And they call roll. They call your name every day. You had to answer, every day. So now you might be able to get off if school let out at 3. You might be able to get off at 2:15 and go practice football or whatever, but you had to be there at all times. History. The reason I like history is because every time we talk about a town like Nashville, Memphis, and all those things, I remember those places that would come up, and I remember all the thing about blacks, that creative things in the history book that nobody give the blacks credit for, So I began to pick up a lot of things out of these history books. Math was good. I like math because I began to deal in money. I began to understand how to count, very quickly. I'm talking about fraction, how to divide, and all that kind of junk, So certain things will pick up my eye very quickly, than others, So it was good, I got a really good education for what I needed in the South, very good. Oh yeah, oh very much so, very much so. I told you the best one in the school, you know. So that's why the principal said to me, "We want you to play high school ball and not play professional ball." I said, "No, I want to play professional ball. That's the only way you can get into professional leagues by playing, you know, around here." And that's what I did. In the South, you only had certain things you could do. If you didn't play sports, what could we do? Yeah, we played like basketball when baseball season was over. We played basketball till 11 or 12 o'clock at night. Baseball season, we played till late afternoon. Football, we played till because you know, especially in the summer, we could you could play up to around 8, 9 o'clock. So we played every day. I used to play on the high school team and then go play sandlot ball on Sundays without any shoulder pads and things. We didn't have no shoes. I used to kick barefooted, you know, 50 or 60 yards. I used to kick the ball hard, you know. I didn't kick off too much without shoes. I used to kick it, but on the side, spiral, you know. So I could do a lot of things, which I did, and they didn't want me doing it because I was playing high school ball and I could get hurt. But guys protected me, so I didn't really have a problem that way either. But I was looked up as an athlete more so than in class. I think if you start thinking that way, you don't achieve anything. You cannot look ahead and say, this is what I'm going to be in 20 or 30 years. It doesn't work that way. You can have goals for like 20 or 30 years. Hopefully, my goal was I want to get into the Hall of Fame. Well, once you get into Hall of Fame, you know that you did something good in baseball or whatever sport you're playing. That was my goal. But to sit down and say, well, at age 15, 18, that in 20 or 30 years you're going to be in the Hall of Fame, no. Because every year you got something else different to do. Everything was different. Yeah, I don't think you can think that far ahead. If you did, you don't you thinking so far ahead, you forget to do things, you know. So I don't think you can. No, I think the responsibility comes from your families. It's like mine. I had guys that at mine, which I had at my time, it was three guys, which was DiMaggio, Ted Williams, and Musial, because and Jackie. Well, Jackie came later, but I'm talking about when I was real young, because every Sunday that's all I saw in the paper was those three guys playing. But I think when you're talking about heroes, I think the heroes should come from your mother and your fathers because they are the ones got to teach you for right and for wrong. Now you can admire whoever you want to admire, but that particular person is not going to teach you. You're going to go out and try to emulate whatever he does, but your mother and father is going to be there with you every day from day in and day out. They are your heroes. I feel my father was my hero. I would say the main thing in any young kid's life is education. The reason I pick education is that even though a guy is prejudiced, he may not be educated enough to understand why he is prejudiced. He have to understand. He can be led to thinking he's that way, but if he's educated enough and the kids understand why that education is more important than just being black or white, to me, education plays a great role in all life, whether you're black or white. But if I say to a kid, you got to go to high school, you got to go to college. When you come out of college or high school, play sports. If you ever get hurt, they can't take that brain away from you. You got that. You can sit down in a wheelchair, and it's been proven. You can sit in a wheelchair and still operate a machine or operate a computer because you are educated enough to do all that. Let's turn that around. Say, okay, I'm playing sports. I get hurt. What do I do? I can't run a machine. I can't type. I can't go out and talk to kids. I'm not educated enough to do that. So education is very, very important as far as I'm concerned. The American dream, well, I can't say free. My American dream is coming from, I can go on, you speaking for myself now, okay? Starting back as a kid, looking at the progress that we have made as far as blacks are concerned, starting with Jackie Robinson, Joe Louis, and moving up, having a black kid like myself move into sports, be the #1 guy in sports, having Dr. King come in and turn part of the role around from wrong and right, being able to come from Birmingham and live the way I do, not knowing ever that I would have a home the way I have, not knowing that I would ever be in a position to help other people the way I want to help them. The American dream can come in many different ways. It doesn't have to come in the way they explain it to you. It can come in many different ways for many different people. Now, an American dream can come if a guy hits a lottery. He have a dream. Who in the world thought he would hit a lottery? That's an American dream for him. But I look at it from day one, moving up the ladder, moving up the ladder. Now you get to the top of the ladder, and you have to look back. How did you get to that ladder? To me, that's the American dream. And going through the American dream, you have to go through stages. And I don't know about all the American dream, but I can only go by when I was born, and I may not be saying it right, but this is maybe right for me. Hopefully, the kids, is what I'm saying about education, can have their own American dream. And they can look back and say, well, I'm educated enough to understand about what he was trying to tell us. Now I can understand a little bit more about it. So the American dream is a very powerful word, you know. What is the American dream? That's very powerful, I think.